In a quiet town, trust was shattered when one of its own vanished without a trace. What could drive someone to disappear, leaving loved ones in anguish? The Witherspoon case is a chilling reminder that appearances can be deceiving and darkness often lurks beneath the surface. The Witherspoon family was known for their close bonds and community involvement. But when 32-year-old Emily Witherspoon went missing in 2012, that image of harmony began to crack. Friends and neighbors were left stunned, grappling with the reality that someone they trusted might hold the key to her disappearance. Emily's last known whereabouts were at a local cafe where she had a heated argument with a friend. Witnesses reported tension in the air, but no one could have predicted the fallout that would soon ensue. As police began their investigation, the community's initial shock slowly morphed into suspicion. As the investigation unfolded, detectives turned their attention to Emily's circle of friends and family. Secrets began to surface, revealing a tangled web of relationships marred by jealousy and resentment. Who among them might have had something to gain from her disappearance? One name kept surfacing in the investigation: Mark, Emily's ex-boyfriend. Described as charming yet possessive, Mark had a volatile temper. Eyewitnesses recalled his aggressive behavior during the argument at the cafe, raising red flags for investigators. Investigators soon uncovered a series of troubling incidents involving Mark. From altercations with other ex-girlfriends to accusations of stalking, the pattern was alarming. But could they establish a link between Mark and Emily's disappearance? As rumors swirled through the town, the pressure on Mark intensified. Friends and family of Emily began to voice their suspicions. But Mark maintained his innocence, claiming he had nothing to do with her disappearance. The community was divided, unsure of who to believe. With no concrete evidence, the case began to stagnate. Months passed without any leads, and Emily's family was left in despair. They organized search parties, plastered flyers across town, and even offered a reward for information, desperate for answers. Despite the lack of progress, the Witherspoon case drew media attention. Reporters descended on the town, eager to uncover the truth. The family's plight became a national story, reigniting hope but also bringing scrutiny to the community's past. As public interest grew, so did theories about what had happened to Emily. From abduction to voluntary disappearance, speculation ran rampant. The theories painted a chaotic picture, yet none provided the clarity her family desperately sought. Eventually, a breakthrough came when a local fisherman discovered a piece of evidence in the nearby river. It was a personal item belonging to Emily, reigniting the investigation. But what did this mean for the already fractured community? With the new evidence in hand, detectives revisited Mark for questioning. This time, the atmosphere was charged with tension. As they pressed him for answers, the truth began to unravel, exposing dark secrets that had remained hidden for too long. As Mark faced increasing scrutiny, he cracked under pressure. In a shocking turn of events, he confessed to knowing more than he had let on. However, his confession raised more questions than answers, leaving investigators puzzled. Mark's confession led investigators down a dark path of betrayal. He revealed that Emily had planned to leave town, but something went horribly wrong. What had transpired during their final encounter? While detectives tried to piece together the timeline of that fateful night, Emily's family struggled with the emotional toll. They fought to keep her memory alive amid the devastating silence that fell over their lives. Amid growing tension, the investigation shifted focus. Mark's friends were questioned, revealing inconsistencies in his story. As the detectives delved deeper, a shocking revelation emerged that would change everything. A witness came forward stating they had seen Mark with Emily on the night she disappeared. This revelation changed the game for detectives, confirming suspicions and unraveling the narrative Mark had tried to create. As the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together, investigators uncovered a darker motive behind Emily's disappearance. It appeared that a love triangle may have played a crucial role, adding layers of complexity to the case. With mounting evidence against him, Mark was arrested. The community was left in shock, grappling with the realization that someone they had known all their lives could commit such an act. As the trial date approached, the town was abuzz with anticipation. Emily's family sat in the courtroom, determined to find justice for their daughter. Would the truth finally emerge? And would Mark pay for his actions? During the trial, the prosecution presented a compelling case, using Mark's confession and witness testimonies to build their narrative. The atmosphere was electric, filled with tension and emotion as the family hoped for justice. However, Mark's defense tried to dismantle the prosecution's case, questioning the reliability of witness statements and suggesting alternative theories. The battle in the courtroom raged on, leaving everyone on edge. As the trial wore on, emotions ran high. Emily's family sat through every harrowing moment, reliving their pain with each testimony. The memory of their daughter loomed large, a constant reminder of what was at stake. Finally, after weeks of gripping testimony, the jury deliberated. The fate of Mark rested in their hands, and the community held its breath, waiting for the verdict that would either bring closure or deepen their wounds. When the verdict was announced, the courtroom erupted. Mark was found guilty, and as the reality of his actions set in, relief washed over Emily's family. Justice had finally been served, but the scars remained. As Mark was sentenced, the community began to heal, yet questions lingered. What had truly happened to Emily that night? The Witherspoon case would forever remain a painful chapter in their history, a stark reminder of the frailty of trust. The Witherspoon case serves as a cautionary tale about the depths of betrayal and the complexity of human relationships. It reminds us that even in the closest communities, shadows can loom large, and trust can shatter in an instant. What lessons can we learn from this tragic story? As whispers of betrayal spread, the Witherspoon community found itself divided. Friends turned against each other, fueled by speculation and fear. In a town once filled with camaraderie, distrust began to seep into everyday interactions, fracturing long-standing relationships. The local authorities were inundated with calls, each tip more sensational than the last. Some residents claimed to have seen suspicious figures lurking at night, while others recounted cryptic messages exchanged in hushed tones. Panic gripped the town tighter than ever. In the midst of chaos, a dedicated detective named Linda Harris took on the case. Known for her keen intuition and relentless pursuit of the truth, she began to sift through the layers of deceit that enveloped the Witherspoon case, seeking to uncover the real story. Detective Harris interviewed those closest to the Witherspoon family. Each conversation unveiled fragmented pieces of a larger puzzle. Former friends spoke of odd behaviors and secretive actions that had gone unnoticed until tragedy struck. As the investigation progressed, a chilling revelation emerged. It was noted that several families had received anonymous letters filled with threats and veiled warnings. These letters hinted at deeper animosities that had been brewing beneath the surface for years. The contents of these letters pointed to long-standing feuds within the community. As tensions escalated, the once peaceful town began to feel like a pressure cooker ready to explode. Rumors spread like wildfire, igniting fears and distrust amongst neighbors. In response to the mounting fear, a community meeting was called. Residents gathered, apprehensive yet hopeful, to confront the growing unease. Detective Harris attended, ready to address the concerns and share findings from her investigation. During the meeting, emotions ran high as residents voiced their fears. Some demanded to know the identities of those involved, while others cautioned against making accusations without evidence. The air was thick with anxiety and uncertainty. As accusations flew, the atmosphere became increasingly hostile. Friendships crumbled as lines were drawn in the sand. The once tight-knit community was now at the brink of collapse, all while the truth remained elusive. Detective Harris, undeterred by the chaos, continued her investigation. She uncovered connections between the Witherspoons and several families involved in a local dispute over property lines, suggesting that long-held grievances might be at the root of the tension. As she delved deeper, Detective Harris learned of a pivotal meeting that had occurred just days before the incident. A heated argument had erupted over the disputed land, leaving simmering resentments that might explain the betrayal. The detective sought out testimonies from those present at that meeting. Their accounts painted a vivid picture of anger and hostility, revealing a web of relationships intertwined by envy and distrust, complicating the case even further. Meanwhile, the Witherspoon family struggled to cope with the public scrutiny. Their grief became a spectacle, with neighbors speculating on their involvement in the unfolding drama. Every step they took was monitored and judged by the community. In the shadows of this turmoil, a few community members began to dig deeper into the case. They formed a group determined to seek justice for the Witherspoon family, believing that uncovering the truth was essential for healing their community. As the group's investigation progressed, they uncovered startling revelations. Hidden alliances and betrayals came to light, suggesting that not everyone was as innocent as they appeared. The community's facade of unity began to crack. Detective Harris, recognizing the potential of the community group's findings, began collaborating with them. Together, they pieced together a timeline of events leading up to the incident, revealing connections previously overlooked. However, not everyone welcomed this collaboration. Some residents felt threatened by the prospect of exposing hidden truths, fearing that their own secrets might be unveiled. The air grew thicker with tension as the investigation intensified. The stakes were raised when new evidence came to light, a series of recorded conversations that hinted at deeper layers of conspiracy. These recordings shook the community to its core, suggesting that the betrayal ran far deeper than anyone could have imagined. As the investigation progressed, the community's facade began to crumble. Neighbors were forced to confront their own complicity in the unraveling of trust. The truth seemed closer than ever, yet the fear of what it might reveal loomed large. Detective Harris was determined to expose the truth, but she also faced mounting pressure from local leaders who feared the repercussions of a full disclosure. Balancing the quest for justice with the need for community stability became increasingly challenging. As rumors spread, a chilling realization hit the community. The very bonds that once held them together were now the source of their greatest fears. The struggle for justice had turned into a fight for their identities. In this critical moment, Detective Harris called for a town hall meeting. She aimed to present her findings and address the community's fears head-on, urging residents to choose transparency over silence as they faced the truth together. The meeting was fraught with emotion. Tensions boiled over as people grappled with their own fears of exposure. But amidst the chaos, a few brave voices rose, advocating for truth and reconciliation in the face of adversity. As Detective Harris shared the evidence of betrayal, the community listened in rapt attention. Each revelation sparked gasps and murmurs, revealing the complexities of relationships that had been hidden for far too long. The atmosphere shifted as the community began to acknowledge the uncomfortable truths. They realized that healing would require confronting their past, facing the betrayals, and redefining their identity as a united community. Following the meeting, a sense of urgency took hold. Detective Harris and the community group intensified their investigation, determined to track down every lead. The truth was no longer just a desire. It had become a necessity for the community's survival. With every step forward, however, they encountered resistance from those still wishing to protect their secrets. The tension escalated as the investigation threatened to unearth deep-rooted issues that many wanted to keep buried. Meanwhile, the Witherspoon family remained at the center of the storm, their pain palpable as they awaited answers. They became symbols of resilience and hope, inspiring many in the community to stand up for the truth. As the investigation progressed towards its climax, Detective Harris uncovered a critical piece of evidence that would change everything. A connection to a local crime syndicate began to surface, hinting at a larger conspiracy that loomed over the community. This revelation sent shockwaves through the community. They began to understand that the betrayal went beyond personal grudges. It involved a network that thrived on fear and manipulation, pulling strings behind the scenes. With this newfound knowledge, the community faced a pivotal choice: continue to live in fear or unite against the shadows that threatened their very existence. The path they chose would determine their future. In a final act of solidarity, the community organized a march for justice. Holding signs and chanting together, they took a stand against the betrayal that had fractured their lives, reclaiming their identity as a united front. As Detective Harris looked on, she felt a surge of hope. The community was no longer just a collection of individuals. They had transformed into a resilient force ready to confront the truth, no matter how painful it might be. With the community united, the investigation gained momentum. New leads emerged, and individuals began to come forward, eager to share their stories. The walls of silence that had once loomed over the town started to crumble. In the following weeks, Detective Harris and the community group worked tirelessly, piecing together testimonies and evidence. The truth was slowly but surely coming into focus, and it was as complicated as it was heartbreaking. As the pieces fell into place, the community prepared for the inevitable confrontation with those who had perpetuated the cycle of betrayal. They had come too far to turn back now. They were ready to face the truth together. The day of reckoning approached. The community gathered once more, this time with a sense of purpose. They understood that the truths they were about to uncover would not only affect their past, but would also shape their future. As the truth hung in the balance, the Witherspoon community stood at a crossroads, poised to reclaim their narrative. The journey toward healing and justice was far from over, but together, they were ready to navigate the murky waters ahead. As the community began to process the revelations, whispers of betrayal echoed through Witherspoon. Friends and families found themselves questioning the very fabric of their relationships, unsure of whom to trust. Rumors spread like wildfire, igniting passions and fears. As the search for answers intensified, investigators dove deeper into the case, sifting through decades of evidence that seemed to lead in circles. Old case files revealed inconsistencies and overlooked details that could turn the tide. Each new discovery felt like a breadcrumb, drawing a clearer picture of the past. Amid the investigations, the families of the victims formed a united front, demanding accountability from officials. Their voices grew louder, and their determination could not be ignored. The emotional toll began to show, as grief and anger intertwined in their pleas for justice. News outlets picked up the story, broadcasting the plight of the Witherspoon families. Fresh reports highlighted the community's anger, transforming the narrative into a national conversation about justice and accountability. The question on everyone's lips was simple: who would be held responsible? Within the chaos, a shocking twist emerged. A witness willing to come forward, claiming to have seen something pivotal. This unexpected turn sent ripples through the investigation, stirring hope and skepticism among the community. Would this new information finally unlock the truth? However, not all were pleased with this development. Some community members feared that the new witness could be unreliable or motivated by malice. Distrust festered, and division threatened to fracture the unity the families had fought so hard to achieve. As the witness's statement was scrutinized, investigators painstakingly pieced together timelines. They matched the witness's account with known events, hoping to bridge gaps in the case. Tension mounted as every minute detail was dissected, with everyone desperate for clarity. Meanwhile, social media erupted with theories and speculations, turning the case into a public spectacle. Some theories were outlandish, while others were grounded in facts. With every post, the community felt the weight of their story spreading beyond their small town. As pressure mounted, local law enforcement faced intense scrutiny. Critics demanded to know why the case had gone cold for so long. The officers, now under the spotlight, had to reassess their methods and confront the community's concerns head-on. Amidst the turmoil, a dedicated journalist took a personal interest in the Witherspoon case. She began interviewing families and gathering first-hand accounts, determined to tell their story authentically. Her work became a beacon of hope for those desperate for justice. The journalist's series gained traction, leading to an increase in donations for the families involved. As support poured in, The community rallied around the victims, reminding them they were not alone. A renewed sense of purpose emerged, igniting a fight for justice. As the investigation progressed, old suspects were revisited. New leads prompted police to conduct interviews with individuals who had previously been dismissed. The cycle of searching for truth presented both opportunity and frustration for investigators. With public interest at an all-time high, local politicians began to take notice. They saw the case as an opportunity to advocate for justice reform, pledging to address the shortcomings of the system. The Witherspoon case became a catalyst for broader change. Amidst the growing public interest, the families decided to host a memorial event to honor their loved ones. The event represented more than remembrance. It was a rallying cry for justice. Community members came together, united in their grief and determination. As the memorial drew near, emotions ran high, and the families shared their stories publicly for the first time. Their narratives, filled with love and loss, resonated deeply with the attendees. Each story added weight to their call for justice, igniting a fire in the hearts of many. As the memorial concluded, the families were approached by a new ally, a renowned activist known for championing similar cases. This influential figure offered to help amplify their voices, bringing national attention to their plight. It was a pivotal moment for the families. With the activists' involvement, plans for a nationwide campaign began to take shape. They envisioned a series of events, rallies, and media appearances to keep the pressure on authorities. The families felt reinvigorated, ready to take their fight to the next level. In the midst of this momentum, the new witness formally provided a recorded statement to police. This crucial detail had the potential to change everything, sending shockwaves through the investigative team. Hope surged as they anticipated what might follow. With the witness's statement in hand, investigators began re-examining existing evidence through a fresh lens. The possibilities seemed endless, but so did the pressure to find a resolution. The stakes were higher than ever, and the community held its breath. As the investigation entered its most critical phase, the community prepared for a series of rallies. Each rally would serve as a reminder of their shared loss, but also their collective strength. The voices, echoing through the streets, were determined to demand justice. In the weeks that followed, public officials began to feel the pressure from the rallies. The community's demands for accountability could not be silenced. The renewed force of public opinion started reshaping the narrative surrounding the case, and change felt imminent. During this time, the family's commitment to justice remained unwavering. They began collaborating with legal experts to further understand their rights and options. Knowledge became their most powerful weapon in the fight against injustice. With legal guidance, the families filed a petition demanding a reinvestigation of the case. The petition garnered overwhelming support from the community, and the signatures piled high. It was a clear message. They would not back down. As the petition made its way through the system, local news outlets continued to highlight the family's efforts. Each story spread further, reaching audiences far beyond Witherspoon. The national spotlight grew brighter, and pressure intensified on local authorities. On the day of the petition hearing, the atmosphere was electric. Supporters filled the courtroom, ready to witness a pivotal moment in their quest for justice. The families stood together, united in their fight, as the judge entered the room. As the hearing commenced, the families presented their case with passion and conviction. They shared emotional testimonies that resonated with everyone present. Each word was a plea for justice, reverberating through the hearts of those listening. Following the family's statements, legal representatives for the officials took the stand. Their defense was met with skepticism and frustration. The courtroom felt charged as the community held its breath, waiting for a response. The judge, after deliberating, announced a decision that left the room in suspense. He called for a new investigation, citing the need for justice and transparency. Gasps filled the courtroom as hope surged among the families and supporters. With the judge's order, investigators were back on the case, reinvigorated by the community's support. This new chapter promised a renewed commitment to uncovering the truth. The families felt a surge of excitement, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As the investigation reopened, the community held its collective breath. They knew the journey would be arduous, but their resolve was unshakable. With each passing day, they hoped their solidarity would guide them closer to justice. As investigators followed new leads, they uncovered a network of individuals connected to the case, each with their own motives. Delving deeper, they realized the complexities of the relationships within the community, which clouded the truth. With the investigation gaining momentum, old friendships were tested. Some individuals felt compelled to cooperate, while others remained silent. Fearing repercussions, the atmosphere in Witherspoon grew tense, as trust hung in the balance. As more evidence surfaced, community members began to question their own experiences and interactions. What had they missed in the past? The realization that they might have overlooked crucial signs created a collective sense of unease. During this time, an unexpected ally emerged, a former investigator familiar with the case. He approached the families, eager to share insights that could help guide them. His knowledge became a valuable asset in their quest for justice. With the former investigator's help, the families re-examined old evidence with fresh eyes. Each piece of information was scrutinized for its relevance to the new leads. The weight of their mission pressed heavily upon them, but hope remained alive. As investigators sought to connect the dots, they realized the case's impact went far beyond the immediate tragedy. It had become a symbol of resilience, sparking conversations about community trust and justice across the country. In the midst of their quest, the families decided to host a community forum. They aimed to educate others about the importance of vigilance and trust in their own neighborhoods. Knowledge shared was power, and they wanted to empower others to act. As stories were shared at the forum, a collective determination emerged. The community committed to fostering an environment of trust and openness, vowing to support one another in times of need. Healing began to take root amidst the ongoing fight for justice. With justice reform advocates on their side, the families pushed for changes in the local justice system. They aimed to ensure that no one else would have to endure the pain they had faced. Their strength inspired others to join the cause. As the families' movement gained traction, they organized a march to honor the victims and demand justice. The streets filled with supporters, carrying banners and chanting for change. The atmosphere was electric, a testament to their unwavering commitment. In the wake of the march, the families received an unexpected invitation from a national news outlet. They were offered a chance to share their story on a larger platform, amplifying their voices even further. This opportunity could change everything. The interview aired, resonating with audiences across the nation. As their story touched hearts, donations and support flooded in from unexpected places. The community felt the impact of their fight as more people joined their cause for justice. As the investigation continued, investigators uncovered a potential lead that was both exciting and troubling. New evidence hinted at a deeper conspiracy, raising more questions than answers. The community braced itself for what lay ahead. With each passing day, the families grew more resolute. They understood that their fight was not just about seeking justice for their loved ones, but also about ensuring accountability for future generations. Their mission transcended individual loss. It became a community's legacy. As the investigation reached new heights, the families learned of a potential breakthrough. An anonymous tip had been received claiming to know critical details about the case. Hope soared as they prepared for what this could mean for the investigation. In the wake of this new lead, the community rallied once again, transforming their hope into action. They organized a series of events to raise awareness about the ongoing investigation. Together, they strengthened their resolve, determined to uncover the truth. As the families continued to push for justice, they faced challenges that tested their resolve. Some officials grew defensive, reluctant to reopen wounds, but the families stood firm, fueled by the collective strength of their community. As the month progressed, the atmosphere in Witherspoon shifted. The community's solidarity became palpable, a bond forged through shared grief and determination. The families felt empowered by the unwavering support surrounding them. With the investigation back on track, investigators followed the anonymous tip. They uncovered leads that hinted at possible accomplices, revealing a web of deceit that had long remained hidden. The case was transforming before their eyes. As the investigation advanced, the families began to feel the weight of their mission. They understood that the journey toward justice was not linear and that setbacks would come. Yet, with each setback, their resolve grew stronger. With the renewed focus on the investigation, community discussions flourished. Forums and meetings allowed residents to voice their concerns and hopes for the future. The air buzzed with possibility as unity began to reshape the narrative. As the months rolled on, the families found solace in each other. They began to forge friendships with those who shared their pain, creating a network of support. Healing started to blend with the fight for justice, creating a powerful alliance. As the investigation continued, community members began to take on more active roles. They organized committees aimed at ensuring transparency in future investigations. Empowered by knowledge, they sought to prevent similar tragedies from occurring again. In a pivotal moment, the families and investigators met to discuss progress. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and hope as they reviewed the new evidence. Each piece brought them a step closer to uncovering the truth. As unity within the community grew, the families decided to host a public forum. They invited experts to educate residents on the importance of vigilance and community involvement. Their desire to empower others fueled a movement for change. The public forum was a success, drawing in residents eager to learn and contribute. Many left inspired to take action in their own neighborhoods. The families felt a sense of hope wash over them as their fight for justice began to ripple outwards. As the investigation progressed, the families became more vocal in their demands for justice reform. They attended town hall meetings, speaking out against systemic issues they had encountered. Their presence commanded attention, drawing in support from various corners. In a heartening development, local officials began to engage with the families more openly. They recognized the importance of rebuilding trust and began to address community concerns. This shift represented a small victory in their ongoing fight. As the families continued to push for justice, they learned that the anonymous tip had led them to a new suspect. Investigators worked rapidly to gather more evidence and build a case. The prospect of accountability loomed larger than ever. Feeling the momentum, the families organized another community event, this time to celebrate the progress made. They honored those who had supported them, reminding everyone that their fight was a collective effort. Together, they had made strides towards justice. As the investigation continued, the community faced moments of frustration and disappointment. Yet, their resolve to seek justice never wavered. They found strength in one another, reminding themselves that every step forward, no matter how small, was still progress. With the new suspect in focus, investigators collaborated closely with the families. They shared findings and gathered input, ensuring that the families felt included in the process. This collaboration fostered a sense of trust and empowerment within the community. As they prepared for the upcoming trial, the families gathered to share their stories one last time. The energy was palpable as they recounted their journey and expressed their hopes for justice. This moment was theirs, and they were determined to see it through. With the trial date approaching, the families felt a mix of anxiety and hope. They understood that their fight was not just about them, but for the entire community. The legacy of their loved ones would live on in their quest for justice. As the trial date looms, the community remains steadfast, united in their pursuit of justice. The journey has been long and arduous, but they know their collective strength will guide them through the murky waters ahead. The fight is not over, but hope shines brighter than ever.